Hey guys, Big Z here, and welcome back to another video. Today's video, as you guys have seen with the title, when did my game collection become an investment? Now this is a question you might be asking yourself if you started collecting last decade. Modern collectors, if you started in 2020, 2021 or this year, it's certainly not going to happen. It's probably not going to happen for future collectors. However, if you started collecting anytime prior to 2020, 2019, 2015, 2010, 2000, this definitely applies to you. In particular, a lot of the OG viewers from my channel, like me, who started as PS3 collectors, this is definitely going to be of my experience. So if you started as a PS3 collector, this is really going to relate to you as well. Yeah, I started collecting around 2014, 15. When I started picking up games, say for $5 each, the game was worth $5. Like, it might have been a $30 game today or a $40 game today, but when I was picking it up for $5, it was worth $5. You know, you couldn't say I was trying to pick up games to make money back in 2015 when these games weren't worth anything. No one wanted them. You could find them absolutely everywhere. And like even games like Lollipop Chainsaw or Folklore, like you could go into your local cash converters and most likely find one of these games. Back then, for under $10, that was a very common occurrence. And today, you're lucky to see one, and if you do, it's probably got like a $49 or a $79 price tag on it. Yeah, so in terms of my game collection becoming expensive, it didn't happen overnight, and it started with the expensive games, and I'll put that down to the reason that as people get into this hobby, they go after the expensive games first. Like myself, I wanted to get the $200 PS3 games before I got the $10, $20 ones. And if you look at those $200 games today, you're looking at like Aquanaut Holiday, Lost in the Rain, The Last Guy. They're all like $500 plus. But those expensive games became even more expensive, and that was a lot quicker than some of the older titles. Now this will relate to all systems. Of course, the expensive ones are going to go up first. That's not new news or anything. I'm just observing what I've seen in the PS3 community. However, I'll just give you guys some numbers. I'm not going to give you exact figures on what my collection's worth. I might put these figures on Patreon in the future. If you're interested in really knowing, let me know in the comments. And if there's enough interest, I might make a video and put it on Patreon or something. It's not really something I wanted to put on YouTube. But I will let you guys know from when I bought my collection. I've got I record the figure of every item I add to my collection, what I paid for it, and then I include what it's currently worth on eBay, going off median sold prices, and I update all this to Google Sheets. So I then have a copy on my computer, and I've also got a copy on my phone when I'm out hunting in the wild. I can see if I've got a game, I can see what it's worth, maybe it's worth reselling, maybe I don't have it. Different things like that. I've used apps before, but I find this works really well for me. So from the total price I've paid for my collection to what it's worth, I won't say today, but what it was worth last year, because I haven't updated my sold listings for 6 to 12 months. My collection's gone up 250%. Now that's an investment that you don't get back in the share market over 4 or 5 years. You don't get that back over many things. I mean, even crypto over the last 1 or 2 years hasn't gone up 250%. It's pretty significant, guys. I'm certainly glad I stuck to collecting. When I first started collecting, and I'm sure many of you guys will associate with this, it was actually a big stigma against it. It was nerdy. My friends were constantly asking, why am I wasting all my money on video games? Like, just throwing it down a drain. But yeah, looking back, I'm glad I did. I wish I started earlier. It's been one of the best decisions I ever made. Yeah, like I'm now like in the mindset, do I sell my collection and invest in something else? I still love it. I don't know if I could ever sell it, or I don't even know if I could break up my full sets and different things like that. But now it's worth something. I certainly consider these things. I have got heaps of notes, so I'm just going to sort of go through these guys. Now the first big significant thing that happened with, in particular, PS3 games going up was COVID. And all video game and media stuff went up once COVID hit. However, PS3 games in particular, after COVID hit, the PlayStation announced that they were going to be closing a lot of the games on the PS3 store. After that announcement, the price of physical games just skyrocketed, guys. I made a few videos on this. I'm sure you guys are well aware of that, especially if you've been collecting PS3 games. And then ever since then, the price hasn't dropped. Even though they went back on the announcement, the prices have actually continued to go up, which is just astronomical for me. So many people have gone, I need to get PS3 games and I need them now. Everyone's out hunting for these games. So if you did collect your games prior to all this madness, you certainly did very well for yourself. But it's sad seeing the price of some games today, knowing that some collectors are gonna, still go for full sets and have to spend thousands and thousands of dollars. I certainly feel for people. Another thing was Seal games exploded on the back of Wata Games and everything else, whether it was legit or not. The price of Seal games have absolutely exploded. This is across all markets, not just the PS3, in particular older games, but even PS3 games, Seal games have exploded. And I put this down to a few things, in particular speculators. There's a lot more people speculating in the market today. Not just for PS3, especially for modern systems like the PS4, Nintendo Switch, the Vita, Pokemon stuff. There's so many outside collectors, whether it's in hedge funds, Wall Street investors, just people that weren't collecting video games 5 or 6 years ago. They're in it today and they're going after sealed new products. They're speculating that these things are going to go up like they have in the past, especially with companies like Limited Run Games, Strictly Limited Games, PlayAsia, releasing low print games. They're releasing a product with the intentions of being collectible. However, these games in the past weren't released like that, and therefore they have like a natural collectability, where artificial collectability, in my opinion, just isn't going to work. There's so much of it and it's just flooded the market. So whether modern stuff may maintain its value, I don't think it's going to increase like we've seen with the PS2 games, GameCube games, especially older retro games. I don't think you'll see that with modern sealed PS4 games, Switch games, different things like that. Of course there will be outliers. Pokemon games are probably going to be worth more than retail in the future, especially if they're sealed. You got things like Godzilla on PS4. I'm thinking the average total price of every PS4 game isn't going to go up as much as, say, the price of every PS3 game has. If you disagree with me, please let me know in the comments. I'm certainly up for discussions. I'm open to hear all views, whether it's negative or positive on what I think. Do I think it's a good idea that investors have got into the game collecting scene? No. Whether I make money on this or not, I much preferred back in the day when all games were cheap. It was so much easier to get things. Everyone wanted to help each other. It was so much more fun back then. Now that these things are worth so much more money, I don't make as many trades as I used to, different things like that. When money comes involved, people get greedy, I guess. Now with my collection going up 250%, that correlates with PS3 games in general that are about 2.5 times more expensive than they were 3 or 4 years ago. And that's across the board, guys. That's absolutely insane for a system that, is 20 years old. Like, you can hardly say it's retro or anything like that. They made a new PS3 game a couple of years ago. Like, we still use Blu-ray technology. It's still, in my opinion, a modern type gaming console. Now also to modern collectors who didn't get back into it back in the day, don't get into collecting if you want to become rich. Like I said, I don't think that's going to happen. Of course, they're going to be outliers, but if so many people get into one thing to become rich, there's going to be people who get burnt out. For every one person that does become rich, you know, someone else has to lose out. It's just like Pokemon cards right now. Like, you know, so many people go into the old ones, but with so many different people buying modern things in 10, 20, 30 years when everyone goes to sell it all at the same time to cash in, yeah, the market's just going to explode, guys. Like, they're going to flood the market and the prices are going to drop. I will say I'll predict that in the future, you know, sealed Switch games and limited run games and sealed PS4 stuff are just going to completely flood the market. Graded stuff that people are sending in droves. They're just going to completely flood the market. And with that in mind, this is actually going to help the average collector out there who just wants to collect. I believe the price of seal games and complete copies are going to become very close. And you'll be able to pick up, say, a brand new copy. It mightn't be sealed, but it might have only been opened once and played once of games for very good prices. In particular, like limited run stuff, I'm thinking like an open limited run game value is very close to a sealed copy because there is not many out there. There's more sealed copies, which is pretty funny to think of. Now we'll put something else to you guys if you do collect. Insurance. I have my collection insured. I'm not going to say how much for, but I certainly recommend it. I've got it tiered up with my house and contents insurance. If you speak to your insurance, I'm sure they can do it as well. Now it's peace of mind. I have increased my insurance with my collection going up. I do, when I mentioned I have a copy of an Excel sheet or a Google Docs document, I have my insurance company have a copy of that as well, so if anything happens, you know, it's all documented with them. With all things, as things get more expensive, you do want to have things like this insured, whether it's through theft, fire, a natural disaster. Anything can happen, guys. I've heard horror stories, floods. You know, you don't want to have anything happen to these games and they're not being insured. I do know something happened to a mate recently, and he probably had his collection underinsured. He got paid out, but it certainly didn't get what they were worth. They might have been what they were worth 3 or 4 years ago. But it's always worth getting your collection insured and then updating it with the price of games going up. Now I wrote down a couple of reasons on the prices of games going up, the popularity of gaming increasing. I think there's more people playing games these days, especially younger people. These people are getting older. They're getting to the age where they have disposable income and they are collecting. Now I'm 29. When I was first collecting, there was not many people my age doing it. I know there's so many young people out there doing it these days, which I think is awesome. And I think as people get older and kids grow up who have been gaming, they're going to get into collecting like people have been. So that's going to get more and more people into it. I don't think there's that many older people collecting compared to young people these days. Especially like in that 60, 70 plus generations. I know some of my YouTube analytics, I pretty much stop at like the age of 55. If you're watching this over 55, let me know. You're one of the 0.1%ers. And I'll take this, I mean, I'm just speculating, but I take this across the board. These people, unless they were, you know, adults in the 80s, they didn't really grow up with gaming. I find like you're nostalgic against what you had as a kid. So you find kids that grew up with stuff in the 80s are into, you know, their NES stuff. People that grew up with stuff in the 90s are into like the N64, PS1 era, and so on. I grew up with my PS2, PS3 stuff. I'm obviously into that, and this trends are just going to continue into the future. There's obviously plenty of outliers, but yeah, going off the law of averages, I like to think that this has contributed to the popularity of gaming and collecting. I know when I first started it was like nerdy. Today it's mainstream to even have game collections. People post their game setups like it's cool these days. It's really awesome to have got into that scene where it was like a niche scene when I first started. I think I've gotten out all the points that I wanted to say. I wanted to get a video like this out for a while. I didn't really know what to say, but I had a few things I wanted to say. If you like this style of video, let me know. Yeah, I definitely want to get you guys' opinion. Please let me know if you like it, what you think of the game collecting market today. Has your collection become an investment to you? Have you sold a collection recently? Have you considered it? Are you still collecting just as heavily as you used to? So many questions. I want to hear what you guys have to say. Yeah, I've been Figsy. You guys have been awesome. Happy hunting. And I'll see you in the next one. Peace.